Good evening. Tuesday nights at 7. You guys know what that means. Chaps Fantasy Chat. I love this is my favorite hour of the week, guys. I get to share with you all the things I've been thinking about, looking at, watching, and kind of the direction my mind goes with it. So I'm really excited to share with you guys tonight. I've pubbed it quite a bit, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Those of you that know me well know that I am a huge Cubs fan, but also I come from just south of Pittsburgh, so I like the Pirates, and I tend to like the NL Central in general as my favorite league. So I've done the breakdowns of most of the divisions. So tonight is the night I've kind of been saving for last. And alas, I bring to you guys the NL Central. So before we get started, I'm just going to give you a quick overview. Thanks, Lou. Appreciate that. Lou Laters is in the chat room. Guys, if you're in the chat room, let me know. I'd love to have you. Ask questions as we go along. Clarification. Anything you guys want to give me. This is a lot more fun when it's interactive. So, but, until I get those, let's start talking about it, right? So what I want to do is we're going to start talking about like who the players are in the National League Central. And who the pretenders are, who should sell and who should buy. Also, we're going to look at this from a fantasy perspective, okay? So we're going to talk about, maybe little hidden gems within each of these teams that are maybe being overlooked by most of the players who maybe are thinking about football now and moved on to the next and think their team's set. There's a lot of guys out there that can help you, make moves category specific that you really need to kind of keep in mind as you go as you go through these, right? Yeah, I'd say that's fairly right, Lou. So let's get in here and let's start talking about it, okay? And let's talk about why. I don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an overview. Let's talk about the division, where we stand, and then we're going to work from the bottom up, okay? So starting out, the Cubs are leading the division. They're quite honestly the cream of the crop right now. They're the best, well-balanced team, but they're not perfect, right? They've got some holes. They've got some things they need to address, okay? But sitting at 54-46, it sounds like they're being proactive. They're not sitting on their thumbs. We'll talk about some links later on with what the Cubs have going on in the background, if you will. But for now, let's just know that they have a 1.5 game lead on the second place team. They're 7-3 in their last 10, and they're 36-18 at home. Now, that said, guys, they're 10 below 500 away from Wrigley Field. That's not good. That's a big hole, right? That they need to get better at working away from Wrigley Field. So the second place team in this division is the surging St. Louis Cardinals. Who would have thought the St. Louis Cardinals all of a sudden are a contender? Well, guess what they are. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're 52-47, and they're 1.5 games back. On top of that, they currently hold the second wild card spot. So look out for the Cardinals. We'll do a little bit of a breakdown between the two perceived powers of this conference here in a little bit. But for now, just know that they are in that second wild card spot, and that is significant. That puts them in the playoffs, okay? That said, there's about 10 teams within 2 games of them, it seems. But nevertheless, they're playing good baseball. The next team is the Brewers. The Brewers they're struggling a little bit here. And this all comes down to their pitching. It all comes down to the fact that the Brewers just have not been able to hold opponents down when it counts. It's the Josh Hader show and everybody else. Injury news with Brandon Woodruff is devastating for this team. When I started doing this research, I was saying that the Brewers need 2 arms. Well, with Woodruff hurt, now they realistically need 3 arms, okay? We'll talk a little bit more about what the Brewers are planning on doing here in a little bit, but I think there are some things that they're probably going to have to do to stay in this race. Again, at 2 back right now, okay, at 53-49. Then come my Pirates. I say my Pirates. I'm a Cubs fan, first and foremost. But I really, being, like I said, being from around the Pittsburgh area, I enjoy the Pirates as well. I cheer for them as well. They've struggled, but we'll talk about adding by subtracting here in a little bit, Lou Landers. And I want you to try and stay for me and listen through this, my segment on the Pirates. I'm doing it relatively quickly. So, I think you can sell and get better. And I think that's what the Pirates can do here. So we'll get into that a little bit here in a little bit, okay? So just hang tight for a minute, Lou. The Reds are in last place. They're 45-53, but they're only 80 games out. The Reds pitching has held them in games, but their bats have, quite frankly, have let them down, okay? So, again, I think that the Reds should sell, like Lou said. But you got to be careful about that because you can't go getting rid of your franchise just to sell. You got to sell the right people, okay? So, again, the wild card. As it stands, the Cardinals are in the second wild card spot, but within this division, you have the Brewers, which are a half game back. The Pirates are 6 games back, and the Reds are 6.5 games back, okay? Honestly, this is still a really tight division. 6.5 games is not unsurmountable by any stretch of the imagination, right? So it'll be interesting down the stretch to see what happens. I don't count anyone out. I think that the Reds could, as Lenny said this morning, might possibly have the best chance at making a run at this. Getting into that, challenging St. Louis right now. Because right now it's, just to be clear, it's Chicago and St. Louis neck and neck and everybody else in this division, okay? So, real quick, 10,000-foot view. Now, let's drill down into these guys, okay? Let's talk about the National League leaders within the Central, okay? And I do this because, one, I think it's significant because it shows you kind of where you're at with the strength within this division, right? So it shows you. So for instance, we start out with average. So I went through the top 20 guys here, and there's only 4 guys in the Central. 4 guys in the Central that are in the top 20 in average. So that tells me this league, maybe that's not their motive, right? Maybe that's not where they want to go with this. But again, it's important. It's important to take note because that's why Christian Yelich's 337 is significant. He's second in the league, okay? After that, in the Central, it drops all the way down to 11th. Chris Bryant's hitting 295. So there's only one player in the NL Central hitting above 300. I don't know what that's worth, but I think it's interesting, and I think it just goes to show you the value of average when you're looking at your teams. Okay, so rounding it out there, Rizzo is at 293, and Josh Bell is at 289. So those are your four players in the top 20 in average in the National League. Home runs, of course, that's where this division or this conference is built and bred. Of course, Christian Yelich has 35. He's going to be all over this stuff. I think the next guy is Josh Bell at 27, who, let's be honest about Josh Bell. He is one strong dude. 5th in the National League in home runs. He's a core player. You can't get rid of him. Right, Lou? You can't get rid of Josh Bell. No way, shape, or form. He's a part of your future. Now, I'll make an argument in a little bit for a little bit more controversial guy that you could get rid of, okay? But it ain't Josh Bell. After that, Moustakas has 26. Eugenio Suarez has 26, who is starting to come on. Eugenio Suarez is starting to come on. We were all kind of bummed early in the year about him, but he is starting to pick it up. Javier Baez at 24, Puig at 23, Schwarber at 22, Rizzo at 20, Ozuna and Bryant at 20. Okay? So this is a power-laden conference. As we go down through here, it really is interesting. There's 8 runs leaders. Yelich, again, 77. Bryant, 77. Bell, 72. Baez, 67. I won't bore you with the rest. Josh Bell, though, with 86 RBIs. This guy, folks, you have to keep him. He is the he is the Allegheny river hitter. He is the only person ever to do it twice. He likes to go splash.
It leaves the ballpark on the fly. Hello, Allegheny. Josh Bell with the homer.
So, here's the comprehensive list of everyone who has went swimming in the Allegheny on the fly. Okay? So, 4 players have done it. Darryl Ward did it way back in, I think it was 2001. Garrett Jones did it. Pedro Alvarez did it. And Josh Bell's done it twice. Okay? So, the guy obviously has power. You can't discount the fact that Josh Bell likes to go swimming. Okay? And I got it downloaded today, so I'm going to show it off. Here it is.
It leaves the ballpark on the fly. Hello, Allegheny. Josh Bell with the homer. It leaves.
I love it. I can't help it, man. So, I'm a big believer in Josh Bell. He is definitely the cornerstone of that offense for the foreseeable future. We'll get to what that means when we get to the Pirates. I won't bore you with the rest of this stuff. I will say that Bell has 7 more RBIs than the next closest person in the National League, which is Eduardo Escobar, okay? So on the leaderboard in RBIs, you have Yelich, you have Rizzo, you have Baez, you have Suarez, okay? So, let's talk a little bit about team-by-team analysis, okay? And as we go through this, guys, by all means, if you have questions, jump in. Kevin, I see you're on here now. Talk to me, brother. Let me know what you want to know. You can steer this just like, you let me steer yours, your podcast. So anybody with us, this is their first time. Kevin Hastings, Aloha Fantasy Sports. Lou Landers, Fantasy Gangsters. Both are seasoned, excellent podcasters who I listen to on a regular basis. So, ask away, guys, okay? We'll start out at the bottom because, well, you know who's at the top. Let's talk about the Reds. The Reds, again, everybody's darling. Everybody talked about how the Reds were a sneaky team in the Central this year, and they were going to come around. I've said it too. But you know what? They've just not held up ground. And the thing that's let them down would have been the one thing that we all would have probably said would never happen. Their offense. Their offense has let them down, okay? They're pitching. They're 5th in the majors in earned run, and they're 6th in the majors in whip. But their batting average is 24th, and they've scored the 26th most runs. Guys, that's not acceptable in a park like Great American Ballpark, playing, with guys like Joey Votto and guys like Suarez and Senzel on their way. This is a team that has talent and is built offensively to play in that park. Why they have not done it, they've let their fans down.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
So, Joey Votto's let this team guys down. Let's be totally honest. He is someone who they paid a lot of money to bring in, and he's hitting .256, okay? He's got 8 homers and 25 RBIs. That is something that is unacceptable. This guy's supposed to be a generational hitter, and he's simply not performing, okay? If you take his bat and you put it up against what he's done on average throughout the course of his career, this offense is much more formidable. And you know what? The pitching's been pretty darn good. So I read something today, and I'll be honest,